The Johnson family lived in a sprawling mansion in the heart of Banana Island. Their home was a masterpiece of architecture, surrounded by manicured lawns, fountains, and a swimming pool that sparkled like diamonds under the island sun. Inside, the house was filled with luxury. Grand chandeliers, designer furniture, and walls adorned with priceless art. But amidst all this opulence, something was missing. Family connection. Mr. Roberts was a successful tech entrepreneur, the founder of a billion-dollar AI company. Mrs. Elizabeth, on the other hand, owned a chain of luxury boutique hotels spread across Europe and Asia. They were a power couple, jetting around the globe to attend meetings, secure deals, and expand their empires. Their schedules were packed with boardroom meetings, galas, and endless emails. They justified their absences by telling themselves they were building a better future for their children, Ethan and Sophia. Ethan, a 15-year-old boy, and Sophia, a 13-year-old girl, had everything money could buy but lacked the one thing they craved most: their parents' attention. Both attended the prestigious Crestwood Academy, a school known for its rigorous academics and wealthy clientele. Ethan was a budding artist with a passion for sketching landscapes, while Sophia loved dancing, dreaming of performing on the grandest stages. Their parents' absence left them under the care of Efe, the maid, and Anayo, the gatesman. Efe was warm and nurturing, often stepping into the maternal role for the children, while Anayo, a retired soldier, was strict but kind, teaching them lessons about discipline and respect. At Crestwood Academy, Ethan and Sophia were surrounded by children who, like them, came from affluent families. They had acquaintances, but no real friends. Social media was their primary means of interaction. Ethan spent hours scrolling through art forums and sharing his sketches online, while Sophia posted ballet videos that garnered thousands of likes, but left her feeling empty. One day at school, Ethan's art teacher, Mrs. Clark, noticed his talents. "Your sketches are extraordinary, Ethan," she said, holding up a drawing of the Grand Canyon he'd done from memory. "Have you thought about entering the national art competition?" Ethan shrugged. "Maybe. My parents are always too busy to notice anyway." Mrs. Chika's smile faltered. "Sometimes recognition comes from the most unexpected place," she said, patting his shoulder. Sophia's ballet instructor, Madame Etiko, was similarly impressed. "You have the grace of a swan," she told Sophia. "Why don't you audition for the regional showcase?" "I'll ask my parents," Sophia replied, knowing full well they wouldn't be there to watch. Both Sophia and Ethan were both bright students. They did their best to impress their parents, but all their efforts went unnoticed. However, even though there was little or no family connection in the Johnsons family, the Johnsons took extravagant vacations to places like Paris, Dubai, and the Maldives. These trips were meticulously planned by Elizabeth, but they rarely included family bonding. Instead, everyone was glued to their gadgets. In Paris, they stayed in a luxurious penthouse overlooking the Eiffel Tower. Ethan sketched the cityscape from the balcony while Sophia took pictures of her poses in front of iconic landmarks. Their parents spent most of the trip on conference calls. One evening in Paris, Efe called to check on them. "How is the city of love?" she asked Sophia. "Beautiful," Sophia replied, "but lonely. Mom and Dad are in a meeting as usual." Efe sighed. "Remember, my dear, love is not in the place. It's in the people who share it with you." This terrible culture went on for long, with at times during holidays, these parents would forget they even had kids, as their mind was always preoccupied by their work more than their beloved kids. Once, they went to New York for holiday. Ethan, feeling grown, decided to take a stroll around the neighborhood. In his escapade, he met a group of teenagers playing basketball and decided to join and watch. While there, he began conversing with a young guy named Leo. Leo seemed nice and welcoming. They exchanged numbers and became friends. Unknown to Ethan, Leo was trading illegal narcotics and was wanted by police. Leo, learning that Ethan was a rich kid, introduced him to hard drugs just to make a quick sale. This was the beginning of a new chapter in Ethan's life. As usual, the holiday was over and the Johnsons returned to their beloved country, Nigeria. Everyone was too busy to notice the new Ethan. He had become rude and carefree, not bothered by anything or anyone in this life. At school, he often got into fights with other students, but being a rich kid, his punishment wasn't so severe. Slowly but surely, Ethan was turning to an addict, oblivious of his parents' notice. Sophia, being lonely, started noticing her brother's new lifestyle and thought it was fun. From time to time, she'd join him in his room playing loud music as they played video games. Ethan now had friends who, like him, had turned to drug addicts due to loneliness, and so they sought pleasure online. Soon, he was introduced to pornography. This was already 2 years on, and he was already 17 years. One day, Sophia came to Ethan's room unannounced, and what she saw shocked her. Ethan had white powder all over his nose, and there was more on the table. He told her to try some and forget her pain. Trusting her elder brother, she went ahead and took a sniff. Immediately, her head started spinning and she laughed uncontrollably. Sophia, in her high state, started seeing Ethan differently. Within a short time, she was all over Ethan, kissing and cuddling him all over. "You know I love you so much, right?" Sophia murmured. One thing led to another, and they made out. That was the first of many such occurrences. This abominable behavior continued until they got so used to seeing each other as lovers instead of siblings such that they were not seeing anything wrong with it. One day, as they sniffed hard drugs, Sophia took her phone and began to take a video. She was passionately kissing her brother Ethan and saying all manner of things, then posted it on her social media page. Here, Auntie Amara saw the video and quickly called her sister Elizabeth to inform her about it. "You won't believe what I just saw on social media," exclaimed Amara. "Your children were making out and even had the guts to post such abomination on social media. What kind of parents are you and Robert to them? You people have failed seriously in your parenting." Amara continued angrily with a sigh of disappointment. "Shut your dirty mouth, Amara! What rubbish are you spewing? Do you realize the damage you can cause with such level of malicious gossip against my adorable children?" Elizabeth said, breaking her silence. "Anyway, I'm not even surprised with such level of rubbish coming from a dirty, useless person as yourself. You see, I've always known you're envious of me, but this level of envy and malice beats my imagination," muttered Elizabeth with a sarcastic yet angry tone. Amara answered. "You're just so full of yourself. Now only money you get, nothing else. Who needs a broken, unhappy home like yours? My dear, if you like, don't go any fix your home now before it's too late. Tufakwa! Abomination! There's nothing one won't see in this life. Now whoa! It can never be my children's portion in Jesus' name." With that, Amara cut the call. Elizabeth opened Sophia's social media page, and what she saw moved her chest to her mouth. "Jesus!" she exclaimed, dropping her phone in shock. Soon after, she called her husband to come back home quickly. Early morning the following day, she arrived at her home and called for a meeting with her children. She opened the video on her phone and began to speak. "I want you both to explain to me what's the meaning of this video. Have you both gone out of your senses?" she asked with a mixture of concern, worry, and disbelief. "Please, tell me this is not you. Was this photoshopped?" She continued, still in disbelief, probably hoping it was nothing but just a bad dream. "Well, I'm sorry, Mom," Sophia answered. "It's all true? Ethan and I are in love and expecting a child," she continued. "Jesus!" Elizabeth exclaimed, breathing heavily. Her feeble heart unable to take the news, she fainted. Mom, both Ethan and Sophia called out. "Effie, come here quickly," Ethan called out. Ife, seeing her madam on the floor, rushed to bring water and something to fan her, but it didn't seem to work. The children were so scared, and Sophia began to cry. Efe, nervous and worried, decided to rush outside and call Anayo, who was outside manning the gate. With Anayo's military training and experience, they were able to revive her. A little while after, Robert came in. He was very tired and sleepy from his long journey back. Elizabeth took him to their bedroom and narrated the whole ordeal to him. Robert had heard enough and went to confront his son Ethan. "Are you mad? What have you done? Is this what you're learning in school?" he asked angrily, clenching his fist that gave Ethan a heavy slap, something he had never done. Everyone was shocked, as they had never seen this side of Robert. He had reached his boiling point. Ethan ran outside, angry and scared. Anayo rushed to get him, but Robert shouted, "Leave him. He's a disgrace to this family." Later that night, Elizabeth went to Ethan's room to see if he was back, but found an empty room. She asked Efe and Sophia if anyone knew where he might be, but no one knew anything. This confirmation got Elizabeth very worried, as it was the first time Ethan was out alone in the night. That night, Sophia packed her bags and ran away. She left a note on her bed stating, "Don't look for me. I'm done with this family." Early in the morning, both Robert and Elizabeth went to check on their children. They began on Ethan's room, but he was still not back. They then went to Sophia's room, and Elizabeth could not believe it. Both her children were nowhere to be found. She saw the note on Sophia's bed, and on reading it, her knees weakened. She sat on the bed and called out for the domestic staff, who all rushed in. "Have any of you seen my children?" she asked. "No, ma," they answered in unison. "You mean none of you have seen them? Not even you, Anayo?" she continued. "I've not seen them, ma," he answered. "Get out, you're all useless," said Elizabeth, and began to sob in her frustration. Robert tried to calm her down. "Robert, what have we done? Will we ever be able to fix this? I'm worried and I don't know what to do," said Elizabeth. "Stop lamenting," Robert said. "We have done what we thought was best for them. They have lacked nothing. So many kids out there would be happy to have half of what we have given these children. But no, they can't appreciate our efforts. They are nothing but spoiled brats." He lamented. Both Robert and Elizabeth drove to the police station and reported missing cases. Being people of affluence, the police wasted no time and began to search for both Sophia and Ethan. Later that same day, Ethan was found lying unconscious in the street, very high in drugs. He was rushed to the hospital and his condition stabilized. Sophia, on the other, had came back on her own. Some thieves on a motorbike had stolen her handbag, which had her money and phone. In her desperation, she opted to go back home. The following day, Mrs. Ifunanya, Elizabeth's mom, called. She was a tough woman and very traditional. "Amara, your sister, told me what's happening with your children," she said, then continued. "I didn't raise you to become a useless and irresponsible mother. How could you allow such abomination in your family?" Mrs. Ifunanya asked in a very disappointed tone. "Good afternoon, Mama," Elizabeth greeted. "What's so good about the afternoon?" asked Mrs. Ifunanya. "Prepare yourselves to come to the village this Saturday. The elders must hear this and perform a cleansing ritual so as to appease the gods of our land. If not, calamity will befall all of us for this incest." With that, Mrs. Ifunanya cut the call. Elizabeth could hardly sleep that night. The weight of her mother's words and the gravity of the situation crushed her spirit. Robert, on the other hand, sat silently in the living room, staring into space, his face a mask of despair. By the time dawn broke, it was clear that they had no choice but to obey Mrs. Ifunanya and return to the village. On Saturday morning, the family piled into their car with Anayo driving. Ethan sat in the back seat, visibly shaken, while Sophia, pale and withdrawn, refused to speak. Elizabeth and Robert sat in silence, the tension palpable. The journey to the village was long, but no one dared to break the oppressive silence. When they arrived, the compound was already buzzing with activity. Elizabeth's mother, Mrs. Ifunanya, stood at the center, her commanding presence dominating the scene. The elders of the village, dressed in traditional attire, sat in a semicircle under the ancient Iroko tree. Women and children whispered among themselves, casting furtive glances at the family as they alighted from the car. "Welcome," Mrs. Ifunanya said coldly, not bothering to hide her displeasure. "Follow me." She led them to the Iroko tree where the elders waited. The head elder, Chief Nook, cleared his throat and began. "Elizabeth, Robert, this is a grave matter. The gods of our land do not take lightly to such abominations. This is not just a disgrace to your family, but a stain on our community. The gods must be appeased, or calamity will befall us all." Elizabeth fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Please, elders, we are here to do whatever is necessary to make this right. Spare my children, I beg you." Chief Nook nodded solemnly. There are 3 steps to atone for this sin. First, a cleansing ritual must be performed to purify the land. Second, sacrifices must be made to the gods. And finally, the children must undergo a period of isolation and reflection under the guidance of the village's spiritual leader, Dibia Obina. Robert stood, his voice steady despite the storm raging within him. "We will do everything you ask. Just tell us what to do." The elders began preparations immediately. The cleansing ritual was scheduled for the next day. That night, Ethan and Sophia were taken to separate huts where they were to remain under strict supervision. Elizabeth's mother stayed with her, offering little comfort but a firm reminder of the consequences of further disobedience. The next morning, the village gathered around the sacred grove. Dibia Obina, dressed in white and adorned with cowries and feathers, led the ritual. He chanted incantations and sprinkled sacred water while invoking the god's mercy. A white goat and a basket of yams were offered as sacrifices, their blood and essence meant to appease the offended spirits. After the ritual, Dibia Obina addressed the family. "The gods have been appeased, but this is only the beginning. Ethan and Sophia must spend 3 months here in the village, away from all distractions. They will walk the land, learn discipline, and reconnect with their roots. Only then will they be truly cleansed." Ethan protested. 3 months? That's too long. What about school? Mrs. Ifunanya glared at him. "You should have thought about school before disgracing this family. You will stay here and do as the elders say." Sophia, too ashamed to speak, simply nodded in agreement. Over the following weeks, Ethan and Sophia's transformation began. They woke at dawn to tend to the fields and attended daily sessions with Dibia Obina, who taught them the values of humility, responsibility, and respect. The village's communal lifestyle forced them to confront the consequences of their actions and the pain they had caused. Elizabeth and Robert, meanwhile, took time to reflect on their failures as parents. With the help of Mrs. Ifunanya, they began to reconnect with their children and prioritize their family over work. When the 3 months were up, Ethan and Sophia returned home as changed individuals. Sophia decided to keep the baby but raise it with the support of her family. Ethan apologized sincerely to everyone he had wronged, vowing to stay away from drugs and bad influences. Sophia's baby was named Gift, and Elizabeth took her as her own, allowing Ethan and Sophia to go back to school. With renewed focus and determination, both excelled in their studies. Ethan's passion for art flourished. His sketches caught the attention of his teachers and even earned him a spot in a prestigious national art exhibition. Sophia, on the other hand, became the best ballet dancer in her school, winning a competition held in Dubai that year. To celebrate their progress and newfound unity, the family decided to take a vacation at a serene cabin in the hills. They spent their days hiking through the lush trails and had their best family times in the evenings, enjoying bonfire dinners under the stars, telling jokes, and filling the air with laughter. A new family rule was established: no phones or any other gadgets during family time. This strengthened their bond and allowed them to truly connect with one another. The successes didn't stop there. Ethan's artwork began gaining recognition online, leading to a scholarship offer from a prestigious art school. Sophia continued to shine in ballet, securing another international competition spot. Robert and Elizabeth, now more present in their children's lives, supported every milestone with pride and love. The family's journey was a testament to resilience and the power of love. They had rebuilt their lives stronger and more united than ever before. Thank you for staying. I hope you learned something from this story. Please leave a comment and share your thoughts. Please do subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you and see you in the next one.